Welcome back to the Blood Bear channel. And in this video, this is going to be another book review about Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Or, again, not the best at pronouncing names. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyways, I guess first things first, there are going to be spoilers for this book in the video, so if you haven't read it and you want to read it, go ahead and check it out. And also, there's also going to be a movie I think is also coming out soon, like next year sometime. I don't know the exact date, so you could also just wait and watch the movie first, I guess. But the trailer looked great, so that's kind of why I went and read the book. So yeah, I guess I can give you a brief overview if you haven't heard of this book or film that's being made. But basically, there's a microorganism that is using like a light propulsion to travel throughout space. So they go to a star, devour the energy from that star, and then use that energy to go off into space, arriving at a planet. In this case, it's Venus, where they breed and stuff. So anyways, this since they're eating, like devouring the energy from our sun, the main character is kind of tasked with discovering why this is happening, and then it's happening to other stars as well, so then he has to go on a mission to figure out why one of these stars is not affected, basically. But yeah, I don't think that's really a spoiler, because that's like what you would find at the end of the book here. Oh, also, he has amnesia, so there's that. But anyways, let's just jump into this video. So again, first up is structure, which I gave a 9 out of 10 to. That was great. It's in first person, which I'm not used to, because I don't think I've ever really read books that are written in first person, but I actually really enjoyed it, because it kind of felt like these are like a collection. It was like a collection of his like how if the main character wrote his findings, basically, and like it's all from his, since it's all from his perspective. It's like him documenting what he's learning about the astrophage and his experiences on the mission, like things that went awry and problems and stuff like that, and then also him what he's remembering from his life on Earth there. So I thought it was really good. And then it's also, like most books, it's chronological, so I thought it was great. Anyway, and then let's go to the second one of these, which is Emotional Impact, which I also gave a 9 out of 10, because there was a lot of pretty good moments in this book, with both like the actual, like with him on the mission, with Ryla DeGrace on the mission, and with some of his flashbacks. Like my favorite flashback was whenever he's like he's kind of kicked off the mission, because he was basically used as a guinea pig at the start, because it's a lot of energy. They didn't know if it might explode or not, so they used him to test it, since he was an unimportant science teacher at a middle school, so that was fun. But then he also goes back and it's like, hey, I want to keep working on this, so, and then they let him, which I liked that. Another one of my favorite flashbacks is actually towards the end of the book. I think it's like the last flashback that he has. It's not the last one, but I think it's like the second to last one, where it's about him. So the other two like lab specialists died, so he's like the best chance to go to Tau Ceti and save humanity on this suicide mission. And this whole time he assumed that he volunteered to go on this suicide mission, but now he's remembering that he didn't choose to do it, and that this is all like Strat's plan. And because he didn't choose, he got locked up and then drugged with a drug that induces amnesia. So that's why he can't remember anything, is because he was actually drugged to do that. But he thought that was just a side effect of the coma, right? Because the other two people that went with him both died in their comas. So he was like the last man to do it. And then on the mission scene, moments, I really enjoyed him and Rocky learning how to communicate. That was fun. And then where they have to go fishing on that planet Adrian, I think is what they called it, where they had to do that, was also really cool. It's cool because like everything went to plan until it didn't, so it's very, very tense moment there. And then my absolute favorite moment is whenever we get character development from Ryland Grace there. He's where he goes on, he didn't want to go on this suicide mission, but then, to save Rocky, whenever he learned about the Taumiba and how it can go through the Xenonite and stuff, he decides to go and help Rocky instead of returning to Earth as a hero. So, he goes and does that. Very, very good character development there. Because going on that mission, he assumes he's going to die, which he doesn't, by the way, in case you were wondering. Alright, and then let's go to world building. I think author here did very, very good job, because astrophage, with how it works as like a life form, I mean, like, you can kind of see how that might actually function, because with the energy that it gets from the sun, it's able to use that to maintain its own body temperature, internal energy, temperature. So it always stays at 96.415 degrees, and I think that's degrees Celsius, so it's still very hot, but it always stays at that temperature. So no matter if it's like on the sun or like out in space, it'll always be that temperature, because they'll have the energy to do that. And then they also use IR light to shoot off and use that to propel themselves, which is interesting as well. What's also interesting is that they can absorb light frequencies at different sized wavelengths. So even if the wavelength is bigger than they are, like the astrophages, they can still absorb that wavelength, which is weird. Because even Ryland Grace in the book also says that that's weird. You shouldn't be able to do that, and that's what gives them they have you can't see inside them, so they're just like black dots because they're absorbing all the light. So there's nothing to be reflected back into our eyes. So for until you kill them, then they stop being able to do that process. So, and they're kind of hard to kill, but also not, because you can't kill them with any type of change in the temperature, because they're always at that 96 degrees Celsius. But you have to use Ryland Grace stabbed them with a nano syringe, and that kills them. But it's a microorganism, right? So there's billions of them in a given just like what would be on a keyboard or something. So it would just be it'd be crazy to have to stab each of those to kill them all. So they need a better solution than doing that to deal with the astrophage, right? And then there's also the, using the centripetal force of something to simulate a gravitational force, like what we have on Earth in space, which I think, like rotation would also, like that would work pretty much. But anyways, I gave world building a 9 out of 10 as well. Alright, now we're entering the plot, which I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I gave the plot a 9 out of 10 too. There are just a couple things that I would have liked to see. First, we'll go over a more spoiler-heavy overview of the plot here. So yeah, we start with Ryland Grace, who is he was a fairly renowned scientist, but he wrote one paper kind of as like a FU to the rest of the field, which kind of made his career in that field plummet. So he became a middle school teacher, I think a middle school biology teacher. He had a PhD in microbiology, so he was selected by Strat to be used as a guinea pig for the newly acquired extremely dangerous astrophage, which Ryland Grace is the one who named that. So, and then between then and that time, he is given basically everything he would ever need, and he discovers quite a lot. He discovers, well, he discovers how to kill them. Then he discovers what's inside them, pretty much, and then he basically discovers that it's also still a water-based life form, and then he discovers how they breed, pretty much, which is very, very big and very contribution to them. They also discover that they can actually live in Earth's atmosphere, which is also important. Anyways, basically all of these advancements and stuff kind of lead him to being the right-hand man of Strat, pretty much. So he's along for the entire ride of this Project Hail Mary. Anyways, then eventually the other people die, and then Strat betrays Ryland Grace's opinion because, honestly, why would she? It's to save all of humanity. Just because you do this one bad thing to this one guy, he's the best chance humanity has. So you have to send him on the mission, even if he's against going on a suicide mission. It's a very iffy moral decision, right? So there can be arguments for both sides, but I think all of humanity is kind of more important than just one guy, So you can understand why Stratton had to do it, even if she, they were friends, right? Anyways, so Strat forces Ryland Grace to go on the suicide mission, and basically, whenever he arrives in Tau Ceti, before he awakes, he gets injected with some drug that makes him have amnesia, but not lose his knowledge of biology and stuff like that. So, yeah, and then he basically is like, oh well, that must be a side effect of the coma that we were all under. So yeah. Anyways, his other two crewmates die, and then he basically immediately gets to work, pretty much. And while he's doing that, he's kind of figuring out how the ship works at this point in time, until he finds, and then he just finds the Petrova line that's in the Tau Ceti system. So then he goes towards it and finds an alien spacecraft where he meets the alien Rocky, and they have to learn how to communicate there, and then they figure out that both of them are kind of the last survivors on their ship, because Rocky's species, the Iridians, weren't very well versed in space travel, and they use sound to communicate, and instead of like a light, so as a sensory input. So they weren't very interested in going to space, but they have, so basically their engineering is superior, or their like materials with like the xenonite is very strong and stuff, and then they have a few other things that are very useful. But they weren't aware of like the radiation that just exists in space. So basically, Rocky was protected by the astrophage casing of the engine that they were using, and the rest of his people were not. I think he had like 23 other people on board his ship, because his ship was much bigger than the Hail Mary, and they had to use, so they all died. Rocky's entire crew died to radiation poisoning, basically, and Ryland Grace's died because I don't know what happened. They just didn't live through the coma, basically. So, no. Anyways, they have to try to figure out each other's language and stuff like that, and then also, so once they get that under control, then they go to where so they know that's coming from the sun, and then they follow the Petrova line of IR wavelength light towards the planet that the astrophage will be breeding on, which is called Adrian. And then they take a sample from like an outer space, expecting there to be like a predator that's keeping the population of astrophage in check. They find no such predators, so then they have to go deeper into like the planet's actual like atmosphere, and then in there they actually do get to find one of the astrophage's predator, which is then called Tau amoeba. And then then Ryland starts getting to work with his experiments. He puts them in the environment of Venus, as well as the planet for Rocky's planet's atmosphere, not the planet he lives on, but the one that the astrophage go to. And they learn that the Tau amoeba won't live there. They won't survive on either of those planets. So then he has to go gas by gas and figure out which one is killing the Tau amoeba, and eventually they come to the conclusion that it is nitrogen gas. So then Ryland has Rocky make these breeding tanks, basically, for the Tau amoeba, where he then experiments and tries to get them, like, breeds up Tau amoeba to be resistant to nitrogen gas, which works. It just doesn't work the way he suspected it to. They do build a resistance to nitrogen, but they also develop the ability to move through the structure of xenonite, so which Rocky's entire ship is made out of. So whenever they separate, they each take a bit of that, like the final verdict of Tau amoeba, which was Tau amoeba 82.5, because it can live in 8.25% of nitrogen gas in the atmosphere. So basically, Rocky loses all of his astrophage fuel because the Tau amoeba basically has free reign of his entire ship. So he loses all of that. Luckily, Ryland is able to figure out what's going on before he loses all his fuel, and has to put the Tau amoeba in different containers so that they can't escape. And his ship is also made out of like an aluminum alloy, so it's not made out of xenonite, right? So he doesn't have to worry about that. So basically, then we have this character development moment where Ryland decides to he does save Earth because he has his like little beetles, little beetles going on. So he sends those like ships out with a sample of the Taumiba and basically like a USB of his findings, and he sends that over to Earth, and then he turns around and goes to find Rocky, which he inevitably does, and then they use the rest of Ryland's fuel to get to Rocky's planet and Irid. And basically, I mean, Ryan's like, I'm not going to live, I don't have any food. And then Rocky comes up with a great idea. It's like, what are you talking about? You don't have any food. It's like, I know you can't eat our food because it has toxic metals and stuff, but you have this entire ship filled with Taumiba. Can't you eat that? And he's like, I guess. It's like, well, eat a bunch of microorganisms. So Ryland is able to survive until the Iridians are able to develop a thing to where they can clone parts of a human, because they get a sample of Ryland's like body, and then so now he's technically eating human bits, but also technically not, because they don't. He's eating himself basically, but like he has infinite of himself, right? So yeah, that's basically the end of the book. Is that Ryland Grace is on Irid now, and he's teaching the young Iridians, basically, and that's how the book ends. So, the things that I would have liked to have seen is that Du Bois and Annie, who are the two science specialists, they got into a sexual relationship, so I would have liked them to have gone to Ryland Grace and have talked to him about how either they can't go because on that suicide mission because Annie either got pregnant or that they've fallen in love and they don't want each other to die now. Either one of them wants the other to die. So then, and then all the other stuff with Strat could have still happened. Like they could have snuck out in a way with that, and then Strat could be like still have had all that stuff happened with Ryland Grace and forced him on that mission. Because I really liked that part. That was a good portrayal. It was a good portrayal. Yes, quite. But then also, I do really wish we got to see Ryland Grace return to Earth. And either I would have liked to have seen him be the reason Strat gets put away in prison, or have him forgive her for what she had done. But yeah, that's it for plot. Final topic here is characters. I only got 3. I'm not talking about all the main like minor characters. We're talking about Strat, we're talking about Rocky, and we're talking about Ryland Grace. Now I'll try to keep it brief. So, characters overall get a 9 out of 10. They were all great. I liked them. Although we mainly just saw from Ryland Grace's perspective. We're going to start with Strat, and we'll end on Ryland Grace. So Strat is very interesting because she's basically given the authority of all of the world's major powers of like industry. So all to find a way, to save humanity from the astrophage. So the real question is like, okay, what price is too high to save the entire species, right? And arguably, you'd say none. Maybe whenever the casualties outweigh the people that are being saved, maybe. But so basically, that is kind of her whole thing, because she kind of nukes the ice, Antarctica ice caps, right? nukes those so that we get more methane gas to heat up the Earth before it freezes over and everybody starts dying. And then she's thinking about like the famine that will follow, and due to that famine, war will happen, and she's full doomsday mode, right? And she's trying to prevent all this from happening as best she can. But so really, the only way she can see like this actually succeeding after Annie and Du Bois' death is to send Ryland Grace, because he's their best option. So even though even though Ryland Grace is her friend, she really needs to send him. Like, it's very sad, because especially like she's been very kind of standoffish throughout the entire book, and she makes a point of going to visit Ryland Grace in the cell that they kept him in, and saying like, I wouldn't do this to you if I did not have to, is the thing. And then he's just like, yeah, whatever makes you sleep at night. It's like, I think she made the right call, because he was very helpful. He was very helpful with all the science anyways. Rocky, luckily he ran into Rocky. If he did not have Rocky, he would not have been able to do that, and it definitely would not have gone well for him. He definitely would have died before succeeding. So good thing he had Rocky there to help him out. So Rocky, he is an alien. He's like, he's got like a bulbous like Rocky Giantess like things on his entire body. I don't know. He is hard to describe. I don't like. He has like the like little spider. He's like spider legs, and he's like a little like tower thing. I don't know. Oh, he's again like I said, he's hard to describe. You'd have to just read his the description in the book, and that's what he looks like. Okay, I don't know how to describe him other than that. But he's also he's not the size of a human. Also, his blood is like mercury or something, and he's not really water-based life. So I mean, he still needs water because he needs that for like energy or something. I don't know. Anyways, basically, their like science and stuff is kind of like Earth science is more informative and better, but Rocky's people have better like materials to work with, basically. But other than that, they're relatively similar in capabilities. Like Rocky, I mean, they're in different fields. Basically, Rocky's like an engineer. Ryland Grace is a scientist, so they kind of fit together, you know. But yeah, so Rocky he's got an incredible memory. He's very good at math, but he has a big lack of understanding of space and science, which luckily Ryland Grace comes along and fills that role there for them. So yeah, and then his crew dies from radiation on the trip, and then basically, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's Rocky in a nutshell. I feel like Rocky's personality and Ryland Grace's personalities are actually very similar, which probably explains why they became good friends. But Rocky, very, very talented engineer there, and yeah, he's basically the reason why Ryland Grace lived, because if he did not have Rocky, he would have died, and vice versa, really. So kudos to them. They made a good team. Anyways, last character is Ryland Grace himself, the main character, and the quote-unquote dumb human that must save all of humanity. He definitely has the most growth in this book, but also that he's the main character. He ought to have the most growth, probably. And we also see most of the story through his perspective. So everybody else is kind of what he thinks of them. So there's that. Anyways, originally he goes from brave savior of humanity that has amnesia to a selfish coward that didn't want to die to save everybody, right? Including the kids he was teaching, which were his initial inspiration to continue working on the astrophage. So yeah, basically. But then, at the end of the book, he's like, hey, I'm just a guy. I want to my friend's out there. He's going to die. I don't want that to happen. So then he goes and saves Rocky, right? Even though he doesn't have enough food to be able, or fuel, but they can get more fuel at there, but he doesn't have enough fuel to fuel. No, he can get more fuel. He doesn't have enough food to be able to survive the trip all the way to Irid to get Rocky back to safety and then all the way back to Earth. So, I mean, eventually he would, because the Iridians can now make food for humans, so they could stock him up and then he could go. He can take the Hail Mary back to Earth, but I think he's just staying on Irid for whatever reason. Hopefully he told the humans about that, because I mean, we don't know that if he did or not. Anyways, basically, beats. He saves Rocky, and his only friend in either of their worlds, I guess. And he lives on that. He lives on Irid, and I mean, the moment that he steps on that atmosphere, he would die. But they make him I think he lives, because the Iridians have like a space elevator, so I think he lives on the Hail Mary until they make it like a dome that can, with his atmosphere, so that he can then he lives on Irid, basically. And then they also make him, his own human meat hamburgers as well, which is interesting. Anyways, the overall score that I gave this ended up being a 4.5 out of 5 total, which is honestly, I think, is pretty damn good, right? Like I said, really enjoyed it. There will be a movie, and I'm definitely going to go see that movie when it comes out. I have no idea when that is going to be. I should probably watch the trailer again to find that out. But it is going to be next year. So, again, if you don't want to read the book, I don't know why you would watch this video and still be here. But there will be a movie. So you could also just watch that. You can watch it before you read the book, or, read the book before you watch the movie. Vice versa. Works either way. Anyways, it's very good book. I suggest you read it. But that is all for this one. So if you liked the video, please do subscribe and leave a like. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye bye.